to welcome you. I'm thrilled to be the host today of this webinar, and we're incredibly fortunate today to be joined by Nicola Holland from Billing Brook School. Nicola brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in driving improvement in teaching and learning, and she's very passionate about creating a culture of growth and reflection. Many of you, I don't know if there's anybody out there, many of you might follow her on social media, where she's an advocate and she regularly shares what the updates she's been doing about professional development. So today, Nicola's going to share her experience on about increasing focus in school, about developing your colleagues in the schools and colleges by cultivating a growth culture. So, Nicola, there's lots of exciting content to share. So without further ado, if you'd like to join me in giving a warm welcome to Nicola.
This is where the applause all happens in the screens and you can't necessarily hear it or see it. So yeah, I am Nicola Holland. I am hopefully going to be talking through this afternoon the ways in which we've started our journey into shifting our culture for professional development. And I say started because, as I think most of us will know, when it comes to culture changes, it takes a lot of time, but we're a lot further ahead than we have been sort of the past couple of years. And part of that is linked to the work that we've been able to do with SchooliP, but also it's about thinking and looking at professional development in a slightly different way. So I have got some presentation that I will hopefully be able to share with you. Can you see that currently? Yeah, perfect. Okay, so like I said, I'm Nicola Holland and I'm from Billing Brook School. We're a special needs school in Northampton, and we have students that are aged 4 to 18. So we're an all-through site, which is amazing because there are students that when they come to us at the age of 4, very much then become part of the sort of school community, and then they leave us at 18. And sometimes that's harder for us than it is for them because, you know, they really become part of our school. We've got about 260 students, I think, on roll at the moment, probably a waiting list as long as that, if not more. And yeah, unfortunately, the SEND sort of provisions are being a bit inundated. And as much as we'd love to sort of capture and bring more on board, it's yeah, difficult times. So I'm going to talk to you hopefully about how we've moved from compliance to collaboration. For us, that is a message that really is embodied in everything that we do. For our students, you know, we never want to teach compliance, and so for our staff as well, we don't really want to teach compliance either. It's very much about collaboration. So move forwards. Hopefully today I am going to talk about the shift from a sort of top-down to a collaborative professional development, being able to sort of show and talk through how SchooliP has been able to help with that in the sense of the coaching, the mentoring sort of approach that we're delivering, being able to share some of our best practice for co-constructed lesson visits. So our approach to lesson visits has taken a real shift as well. And then also we have created our own ECT programme, which we'd be really interested to sort of share, but we think this would also support new to SEND. So teachers who have maybe transferred from mainstream into SEND, the programme would be really sort of relevant for them. So I'd be really interested to seek some feedback on whether schools would want to potentially access that and what that might look like moving forwards. So from compliance to collaboration, this for us is a really big thing. When we, you know, way back when, sort of 15, 16 years ago, when I started teaching at Billing Brook, very much performance management, you know, it was a kind of very much sort of done to. You'd have the people coming in, doing your lesson observations, they'd be sitting there, and then you'd have your feedback afterwards. It would be very much, you know, the way in which it was delivered might be a case of this is the things that maybe you've done well, let me tell you all the things that maybe we want to do better, and actually how we can improve. And you might come out of there thinking, yeah, brilliant, okay, I've done really well there, but I've still got lots that I can improve on. As teachers, as professionals, I'd hope we're all in that provision where we really do want to always constantly do better, but sometimes it's a case of it felt done to rather than done with. And sometimes the professional management or the performance management sort of targets that might be set, you might not be as invested in, and so targets were being set for you that maybe you felt sort of it's a case of jumping through a hoop, for example. So obviously we've tried to shift this in terms of a lot of the professional development stuff that's coming through from the government as well, but it now looks very much a shared journey. So for us, we have professional development partners in school, and all of our professional development partners are allocated teachers. They may be the teachers that are in the phase that they're responsible for, but it might also be that it's done on a needs basis. So an understanding of maybe the pathways that the students are in, or it might be that that's something that the staff are more skilled in, or an expert sort of colleague, for example. So our teachers would be allocated a professional development partner, and then throughout the course of the year, those professional development partnerships would come together and much more regularly having an opportunity to talk about the outcome that maybe that partnership has created, and thinking about having interim reviews where we check in, setting smaller actions. So it's not a case of, right, I've set this at the beginning of the year, and a year later I come to my professional development meeting and think, oh, what was my target? Actually, it's constantly on our remit, and it's also in a lot of our conversations. So being able to use SchooliP to facilitate some of that has really then helped. We've been able to work with SchooliP to put in some of the things that we need as a school. It's not a case of, oh, this is the only standard that, or the set format that you can have. You know, we've been able to work with SchooliP to say to them, this is the format that we're running. How can the dashboard work for us? What documentation can happen? We've got this format in a file. How can that work? And that's been really important, because it means now when staff go on, they can see their actions, they can see the objectives, we can hold interim reviews, we can put in all of the successes that they've achieved, we can sort of do that marginal gain in the sense of the progress towards that outcome. So across the course of the year, it's very much developmental and it sort of builds up. But it also means that we can change the course as well. So if after a couple of sort of terms, the staff are saying, you know, we'd set this as an outcome, but actually my journey has started to take me down this other avenue. What can we do to reflect that maybe in my outcome? And so that's been something that we've been really able to develop, because we're holding regular meetings with the staff. So alongside that, we've been able to really invest in lesson visits. So we've been able to look at the shift from observation to co-construction. Very sorry. Let's turn. Oh, for all phones, sorry, amateur mistake there. So being able to shift our lesson visits. So we call them lesson visits rather than lesson observations now, because it is an opportunity for somebody to be visiting that lesson. And actually, we feel really privileged in a position to visit somebody else's lesson and to see what is going on in that classroom. We've been able to look at it becoming much more of a reflective document. So now there is a series of questions that we would be able to reflect on as we're visiting that lesson. We would maybe look at our pedagogy, we'd look at our approach to teaching and learning, and then we would think about giving an opportunity for the person who's being visited to also reflect on those same questions. So it becomes much more collaborative in the sense of it being a conversation rather than, again, a done-to approach. Now, when I do a lesson visit, when other staff do a lesson visit, they will take notes on some of those question areas, like, you know, how was a universal offer for communication maybe presented in the classroom, and how effective was it? What opportunities were there for regulation, and were these effective? How did you know? So we would comment on that as a visitor. We would then provide the same questions for the person who's being visited to reflect on. And then we would have an opportunity to come together and say, okay, talk me through your approach to regulation. Talk me through your approach to communication, for example. And then as we're having that conversation, each of us can then give an opportunity to share their perspective. They'd be able to talk through, you know, maybe a suggestion of something that might inform or change and impact. You know, it's not a case of, right, I came in and I saw this, and you now need to do all of this. That approach just it didn't really align with us as a school. And I think through being able to do a lot of the reflections, our staff have become much more reflective as a response. And so therefore they're seeking out a lot more of that opportunity to converse and have those feedback sessions. Lesson visits aren't as daunting. Don't get me wrong, they're still one of those things that a lot of staff don't want to do. But the ones that have been through the process from the beginning, especially like my ECTs or my apprentices that have worked through this process, now they welcome any opportunity to have lesson visits, you know, because they know it's about a growth rather than a sort of you know, it's not a case of then scrutiny or criticizing or doing it in that respect. It's much more about how can we grow together. I learn so much from lesson visits as an opportunity to go in there, and I feel privileged in that respect to be able to go into those classrooms and see things. I can then share that practice with other professionals across the school. So it is about bringing all of those elements together and being able to share that. And again, SchooliP can really help us to do that, because we bring in any area of maybe development or need or focus. We can bring that in, so then it's constantly involved in those interim reviews. We're able to check in on it. We can intertwine them then with their professional development targets. So it allows all of those pieces of the puzzle to sort of really come together in a nice way. One of the other things that we've developed a lot is the opportunity to coaching and mentoring. So for us as a school, again, growth happens when you can access coaching, when you can access mentors. So being able to have that time with your professional development partner, which is time for just you two to work together, to talk through things, to maybe share some experience, maybe to have some of those critical and sort of challenging questions being presented, being curious about things. We can then reflect all of that, and we can help to structure those conversations, especially through sort of SchooliP, but also just by facilitating that time. It is sort of protected time. It's an opportunity for us to talk about the member of staff and their professional development, because that's as important as it is for some of the students, you know, development. If the staff aren't able to be invested in, we won't then see the impact in the classroom. So we've got to invest in our staff to be able to grow that. And then our mentoring frameworks, we've really been able to tailor to those SEND environments. We mentor in things that are appropriate for us as a school. We will talk about the things that are really important in the sense of whether that is our communication strategy, whether that is our regulation support. You know, if their students are not ready to learn, there's no point in us going down the route of then the academics and such. You know, we've got to get those students ready to learn before they can absorb any of this new knowledge or content. So we will be able to then structure our mentoring meetings according to that, and whatever is needed for that member of staff. You know, it's very bespoke to each person, and so we can have that personalised dialogue. Being able to move to it where it is a collaborative approach, it really does allow us to have that opportunity to empower our teachers. They will come with ideas of what they want to work on. They will come to us with, actually, this is something that I really feel is important within my class group. They will look at maybe where they are on their career sort of stage and think, okay, well, what is it that I want to work on that's reflective of that? So if their main scale, for example, it might be that it's much more around their classroom practice, and that's okay. You know, we're not asking them to then think that they've got to go what whole school commitment or phase commitment. It's actually, let's just allow you to dedicate that time and that energy on getting it right in your classroom. If there's something such as, you know, the communication strategy, or you've got a new cohort, actually it's okay to allow some time to develop that strategy, because that's going to serve us in the long run. They are able to then have their own dashboard. They have all the autonomy over what they want to submit in terms of any evidence for that. But evidence for us is a really strange word, because actually it's not about evidence in what they're doing. It's more about capturing the progress and capturing those successes that they're having, and a forum basically in which to share that and to celebrate it. You know, I love being able to go in and see my sort of professional development partner sort of staff teams and think, oh my goodness, look at that, like look what you've done there, and oh yeah, that's brilliant. And then being able to have that as a conversation with them, because sometimes those things are just not seen. we're so busy in education that you don't always know about some of those projects that people are working on. You don't know about some of those successes. This is like a little Facebook social media platform in which to celebrate and share some of those things, but in a really safe and secure way, because it's done through a professional sort of, platform that's within our school. Staff can also then record any CPD on there, and then from that we can also then evaluate whether or not those CPD opportunities are any good. So if we've had somebody go on a course and potentially it's not been any good, if somebody else then wants to go on that course, obviously I can use that information to say, that might not be the best provider. Let's see if there's another avenue that we can go down. So it really does allow us to sort of, like I say, create that really bespoke and sort of meaningful approach to professional development for each teacher. And so this is sort of just one of the last elements that I just wanted to bring in. As a school, as a special needs school, for us, when the ECF and all the ECT sort of reforms sort of came in as to how it was going to be delivered with the full and the core options, and then potentially this bespoke model, we were in a bit of a predicament, sort of being able to utilize a lot of those materials that are available to schools to access. We went down the route of accessing the materials that were provided by, say, Teach First, but we found that over time we were actually creating our own bespoke model when it came to supporting our ECTs, because so much of what is needed by them to ensure longevity in this career, we have to tailor it to what they need in that moment. And for us to be able to sort of say, actually, we might send you off onto some ECT training, and it might be delivered mainly with a mainstream sort of forum, or it might be delivered in a SEND, but still maybe with a SEND mainstream approach. We knew we would then be sending them off for a couple of hours there, then they'd have to come back, then we'd have to invest time in actually dissecting all of that information and making it relevant to our school. We decided that actually it was better for us to deliver a programme that was bespoke to SEND. And actually, as an evolution of that, that's become new to SEND as well. So this year we've been sort of being able to support staff who are mainstream staff access this programme, because although they're very, very experienced and very, very good teachers, SEND teaching, there's elements of that potentially their training just hasn't covered, and they weren't aware of certain things when it comes to maybe communication or certain elements of regulation, for example, but also being able to support them in understanding what is important from our school and actually our pedagogy, our approach to teaching, because each school is going to be very individual to themselves. So we created this not only to support our ECTs, but also now our new to SEND, but also supporting our mentors. So we've created a programme in which the mentors receive some really in-depth training on effective mentoring, being able to utilise a lot of those evidence-informed practice that's around lots of public publications, and able to generate learning lenses, which the staff work from. They've got their own record, then reflections, they've got things that they can take away from it. There's self-directed study materials, again, which are in line with all of the ECF. But it's relevant and meaningful because it's appropriate to what they're delivering in the classroom. And like I say, with the mentoring, then we can deliver that in-house. So one of the things that we're trying to evolve then as a school is opportunity to expand that to support other SEND provisions, whether that's DSPs or SEND schools, but to say, you may have staff who are new to SEND. This could be a really, really effective induction programme that follows a 2-year programme, gives them access to a mentor, gives them access to support and a sort of in-house buddy. Also follows an opportunity to then have that documented, have that record of sort of progress through SchooliP. But then you've also got it for your ECTs as well. So then you can do all of your record keeping, all of that mentoring, all your notes, all of your learning lenses. That would all part of their sort of bank of things. So then when it comes to submission, everything is there in one place, and then you can just send it off as is needed. And so that's one of the things that we're sort of looking into to seeing how we can expand on that. So that's it in a nutshell. Quite a lot there. I apologise. There's quite a lot of information, but hopefully just sort of allowed snippets of bits of what we've been doing. And like I say, this hasn't happened overnight. This is a long process that we have been on, and we are still on that process because, like we said, culture really does take a lot to change. But yeah, if there's any things that would be useful to ask questions of, or if there's anything in terms of best practice that we can share, or ideas and examples, then obviously we're happy to sort of any questions presented. And yeah, hope that was okay for everybody.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Nicola. That was really, really good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, I don't know, has June got any questions? I'd say I've got a question, but I wondered if June had any questions. No, when you've talked about it, obviously you've talked from that top-down model to more or less now a bottom-up model. And obviously I'm a bit older than you when it came around to performance management being introduced into schools. And the idea then is everything was done too. So these are your targets. This, I know best about what professional development happens. I know best when it comes into the classroom to do lesson observations. And over time, things are changing and they are changing in schools and that. And I'm just wondering, because obviously you've been at your school on a bit of a journey, etc. How long has it taken? Because it might have been in that transition when you actually joined the school, but how long has it taken your school to go from that, like, more or less fixed down model to more or less?
I would say probably. So it's definitely still for staff that have potentially been here for a long time. The culture, it's still a shift. You know, there's still an element of feeling as though it's going to be a case of done too. And I think the more we expose, the more we do this approach, and the more regular we can have those sort of check-ins and that opportunity to have a very open door policy, in the sense of, if you want to have a meeting with me about your professional development, I am more than happy at any point. If that means that it's sort of like every couple of weeks or every couple of terms, we will do that. It's very much on a sort of personalised basis. But I think the ones that we've really worked it with right from the start, I would say we're probably about 3-4 years into it, and that's where we're seeing the real sort of that culture shift is really starting to happen, in the sense of, like I say, them wanting to come to us and say, can I have visits actually, because I really want to show you this. You know, I went on a lesson visit this morning, and the lesson visit was a trip off site up to Tesco's, because that's how confident and how sort of they want to break the mold. You know, they want to challenge this, in the sense of, this is an opportunity for me to show you something that's really different. So yeah, probably about 3 or 4 years, I would say, but we're still needing to keep it going. It's still probably, it's at that point where it's okay, but it's not completely embedded yet.
And do you do things such as, so I'm just, you know, as my thoughts are working, things such as like questionnaires and anonymous questionnaires about feedback on the process, and or is it just a feeling?
No, so I spent a lot of time, especially when we were introducing this, to talk to all of the, especially teachers at this moment, talk to them about their own like experiences of professional development, their own experience of CPD, their own experiences of training, you know, and actually what works best for them, you know, and trying to sort of say to them, you know, does it work best if we're in a large group, or if you are having some training materials delivered sort of as a phase or as a whole school, for example, would it be better to have the materials ahead of the time, you know, or actually, if you are being visited in that lesson, you know, do you prefer to know about it in advance, or would you prefer somebody to just drop in, you know, and actually, how can we help to make that a bit more personalized as well? What opportunities would they like as well? You know, have they ever been on courses or any sort of additional training to further themselves that they felt was really beneficial, and why was that? So I spent a lot of time talking to each of the teachers and going round, and that was so powerful, because it really opened up our eyes, in the sense of, these are the things that are working well, and these are the things that actually we might need to change. But also, when I suppose it's an element of recognizing we're not going to get it right for everybody all the time. And actually it's a case of like looking at a sort of a best fit in some respects, and saying that's okay. Sometimes it doesn't sit right with me personally, because I want to make sure that it is sort of really tailored to everybody. But when you've got a staff team, you know, we've got a staff team here at Billing Brook, probably of about 150, 160, not all teachers. I've got teachers, I think I've probably got close to 30 teachers. So we're hopeful that we can, by partnering up people and working with them, we can sort of create some element of that bespoke and personalised approach. But there will be some parts that people will maybe really benefit from, in sense of if it was a wider sort of training programme that we're delivering in school. But it's also allowed us to shape our training programme to be much more focused, but also working in the classrooms with them. So actually going in, modelling, doing that practice alongside, testing out some of the strategies. You know, I think it's allowed staff to realise that if maybe they are having support, or they've got expert colleague input, or if they've got a mentor or a coach coming in, there's not things that are being suggested that they don't feel the other person would be doing with them. You know, it's not a case of that they'd say, oh, try this strategy and sort of just let them go and see how it happens. It would be a case of, why don't we both try this? I'll model it to you, I'll use your students, we'll see how that goes. It might be different because actually your students won't respond to me because I'm unfamiliar. However, if it does work, then potentially we've got opportunity to run with it. Or if me's going to become maybe a cause for dysregulation, let's do it alongside each other, or I'll be in the room and then I can sort of feed back on it. So I think that definitely is helping to sort of allow that to that transition as well to really help, because having that opportunity to talk to all the staff, like I said, they were able to share personal experiences, their voice, and then that really sort of, we could then use that evidence informed research that's out there, you know, the UDL, universal sort of design for learning and things. That was really pivotal as well in terms of creating some of our professional development stuff. So yeah, it's based on a lot of strands of evidence, and I think being able to, like I say, talk to our staff in the first place, that really did help us to evolve this better in a better way for us as a school.
Right, thank you. And I've got one final question. Obviously, I sensed from what you just said there that your staff are in different areas. You know, there's those that are still a bit not resident, and you've got those. But obviously, there's only one of you, and maybe there'll be some leaders. So when someone asks you and says, "Oh, can you come to Tesco?" But then someone else goes along and says, "Oh, but you haven't seen me. You haven't seen my lesson for a while. You haven't done this. How do?" I suppose you've got situations where you could be letting some of your colleagues down because they want to share, but there's only one of you to go round. So how do you get around that, really?
Well, so at the moment, so all of our SLT will be professional development partners, and we've got 7 on our SLT. So that allows us to really share that and distribute it. But what it also means is that we can also then rotate around. So maybe one member of staff has seen them in the autumn term, for example, but then the others might do it in the spring, so that it does allow that opportunity for new eyes, different experiences to happen. We also do a lot in terms of learning walks. So we'll facilitate an opportunity through learning walks, especially if they're curriculum learning walks. That means that the curriculum teams and myself can also go along, and then I can see a lot of these snapshot sort of snippets that people want to see and show off. I mean, I would happily go in and out of classrooms all day, every day if I could. And that would be my happy place, you know, being able to be in there and supporting and working alongside the staff. So if people want me in there, then I will probably move other things just to get me in that classroom, because I want to see it. So I hope that there isn't too many of those opportunities where people don't feel as though they can't sort of show me. But yeah, I think it is about having that distributed leadership of it, and actually everybody being part of it and being on board. You know, we've got a really we're in a privileged position to have our SLT, but then also our middle leaders. So as an extended leadership team, we've got quite a big sort of group, and there's opportunity for then, you know, even peer observations. So staff might want to have a visit, for example, from somebody else just in their phase. you know, and it's about sharing that. It's not a case of just because we're in leadership that we're the ones that will do the visits. You know, we often advocate for anybody to go in and out of anybody's classroom. If they want to see phonics, for example, they might be able to go and visit the phonics lead doing it, you know, or if they want to see a really great approach to play, you know, we'd be able to direct them to staff that would be able to maybe facilitate that. So it's a case of each member of staff being able to see any member of staff across the school and showcase whatever they want in terms of that learning to allow that growth to happen. I think that's the bit that the culture still needs to work on, because that's the bit that's still slightly missing, in the sense of them feeling as though they've got that of autonomy. They're still waiting maybe to be told that they can go and do that in somebody else's classroom. So I think that's the interesting bit, to see how do we shift it from that level where we've got that movement across all the classes and that flexibility, but also involving teams. You know, actually, it's not just our teachers that we want to move around, it's also our TAs. How do other TAs learn from each other, and how do TAs learn and share and celebrate the approaches that they're also impacting on in the classroom?
Yeah. Hi, June. You had a question for us, and seeing as it's just you who's made it to the event today, I thought I'd give you access to talk and put your video on. So feel free to get involved. I think your microphone's still turned off.
There we go. Yes.
There we are.
Hi. Do you think we're only a very small special school, and we have some TAs that want to train as teachers? Would the SchooliP system be good for that?
Yeah, I do think so, because what it allows is you can tailor it to whatever you need. So if you had a system in terms of like a progressive series of standards, or if you're going down an apprentice route, or you're going down the ITT route, you can obviously use those frameworks and put them in, so then they can sort of work through those standards. They can obviously assess against them, they can evidence it. But I think the best part about it is that you can then have all of those running logs. So any form of lesson visits, or if you might call them lesson observations still, or learning walks, or any form of where the staff have got together to have a conversation, or mentoring, or coaching, it's all in one place. And the fact that it can be live and be accessed, you know, whether that's on a phone, an iPad, or on a desktop, actually means there's a lot of transferability between sort of, you know, spaces in the school, to be fair. So they might be able to capture something in one area, and then they might be working in another class, they can capture it there and then. So it really allows that sort of live capturing of their teaching, their learning, or whatever they want to sort of showcase, to then bring to those meetings when they may be wanting to say, look, I want to go down the teaching route, and you're saying, okay, yeah, let's talk about that. They've got their portfolio there, it's done. It's not a case of that they then have to go away and create all of that. And then if they then go down the ITT route, or the apprenticeship route and things, obviously they may have their own platform. They might have to do certain things in that respect, but it's very probably able to be replicated in a really simple way on SchooliP. So then that if they remain with you as a member of staff, everything then is still collated on the school system, so that they don't have to keep flitting between all these different systems, one internal, one external, one paper-based. You know, they've got everything in one place, and then you can just flip between different year groups. So whichever year it is that they're working on in terms of their professional development, you can then just select which year it is. So if you're 5 years in, for example, we were one member of staff, you could just go back each year to sort of see, well, what was the target that we set then, and what progress has been done, what support has been put in place. So you've got it as a running log.
Excellent. That's something that I'll be putting forward to the SLT.
Thank you very much. Just to help you out here, Joan, if it's okay with you, Nicola, I'll share now, and we've got a couple of slides about SchooliP that maybe might help June out.
That's fine. I will stop sharing.
So hopefully I'm now sharing my screen here. Can you see that now? Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. So just to help you out, June, what is SchooliP? Well, it's a comprehensive cloud-based system, so it's actually on the cloud. And the whole purpose is to streamline, centralize, and integrate a whole load of different school processes. So that can be staff performance, so traditional appraisal or coaching, the professional development of staff, such as the CPD, tracking CPD, requesting CPD, and generally overall school effectiveness. So it will manage improvement plans, self-evaluation. The main, I suppose, mantra behind us is education is faced with the big issues at the present time of admin heavy workloads with numerous folders and everything else all over the place. It is a centralized system based on putting information in and instantly getting information out. So it's about alignment of things. So in things like the CPD can link to coaching, can link to school improvement, can link to your self-evaluation. So we create a cyclical way. And there's over 800 organizations using this system worldwide, and we regularly have 50,000 regular users using it. And we embrace the school's uniqueness. So if you're fortunate to, go onto our website, you'll see there's various events, and we have a range of organizations, all different, and we embrace the uniqueness of all organizations. So whether they are Send School doesn't mean it's going to be the same Send School as down the road. So the idea is we don't treat everyone the same, and we work with the leaders in the school to create a system that more or less, I suppose, touches and ticks all the bases for you. So it's how we more or less build it. You have unlimited online support. So it's not something that we're going to just give you and say, get on with it and sort it out yourself, because we work in partnership, and we create reports and dashboards that instantly give you information. Not just one person, such as the case of Nicola. I know she's fortunate to mention all the way through about SchooliP, but the whole purpose of these webinars was for educationists to share what they've been doing in the school. She just happened to mention SchooliP. But the point is about you creating instant information. And that's what we want. We want to reduce your workload. We don't want you to have to go through lots and lots of different paper and forms and different systems. We want the staff to create their own professional portfolio that they're able to get information on. And if you want to find out more, June, there's an email that you can get in contact with. Okay, there's a telephone number.
I think we've spoken before, haven't we, June? I think you've got my email address potentially.
Yeah.
Have we?
I believe so. I believe you pointed me in one of your colleagues' directions before. You downloaded a brochure of ours, I think, a couple of months back. I'm pretty certain. I'm just getting up my my history now, but I've got your email address anyway from you registering it, so I'll be able to follow up with you after this and send you all these slides and stuff over.
Excellent.
That's okay, June.
Thank you, Lee.
And if you use your phone like you've just done, you could just click on it. There's a little QR code there, which should then just open up and go straight to our website. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, I've just done it.
So that's it. So I'll stop sharing there, and so we can see everybody. And hopefully, June, you found the session very informative. And I have to say a big thank you to Nicola, because obviously I follow you. I'm not stalking is the wrong word, but I follow you intently on LinkedIn about all the things that you are doing at your school, and it's what you share out there is, credit, and obviously your driving force. So thank you very much, and keep up the good work.
No, thank
an amazing
you.
school.
Yeah, I mean, they are, honestly, the students, the staff, it is an incredible place to be. It's the reason why I'm 16 years in at the same place. You become part of Billing Brook when you're here. But it's credit to the work that is being done by the team, the staff, and everybody here, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. So
that's so.
Yeah, fantastic.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us, June. Thank you for presenting, Nicola. Thank you, Andy, for attending, for presenting as well. You've done a number of these now. We've got one more in the diary next week until probably September now. So we'll hopefully have another great session next week. But thank you everyone for today, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you so
very much.
much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.